Hi, everybody. Best wishes for Passover to anyone who is celebrating. And we're grateful for you being with us today because I know it's such an important holiday. And I hope you enjoy the whole week with your families if you're able to gather in person or on Zoom. I am uncharacteristically prepared, as I was saying. I have all my ingredients prepped, which is not how I usually cook. I'm usually doing this while this is happening. But it's kind of nice. It's kind of relaxing to be prepared. I am doing something a little differently because I used my favorite Better Than Bouillon. I needed to make the stock in advance. So instead of cooking my onions ouch, in the big pot and then putting in the stock, I'm going to cook mine in a pan. And I'm also going to brown my sausage in there. Denise texted me earlier and I hadn't noticed that the recipe didn't really address whether you cook the sausage. I think it adds flavor, so I'm gonna brown it a little bit before putting it in the soup.
I went ahead and I did that step too. It seems like it'll make it a little nicer.
I think so. So thanks for asking that earlier.
Sure.
So I'm gonna get my, and another tip that I use is they had you just doing it in butter, but I find butter can sometimes brown and burn quickly. And they were like, don't brown. So I'm putting some of the olive oil in with the butter. That's a trick I learned from my mother, that if you're cooking something with butter on higher heat, add a little olive oil and that will keep the butter from browning. And it works really well. I do a great dish of my mom's with scallops. You just throw them in a paper bag with some flour and salt and pepper, and then you cook them in olive oil and butter till they're browned, not overcooked, and you serve them with a little lemon. So that's my olive oil butter learning recipe, but I got to tell you, it's a very easy dinner. So you might want to try that. So I'm going to get this melted and then I'm going to put in my onions.
Dominique, I'm doing an experiment too, since I had browned the kielbasa in a little bit of olive oil, and then I had all that nice, meat fat is no other way to put it, and olive oil. So I'm throwing that in with the butter, and I'm going to see how that does.
Great idea, because that's kind of part of the whole flavor profile. I think it'll be delicious. And I was going to use kielbasa, but I found that I had some Italian sausage. I'd gotten one of those massive packages at Costco. And when I was pulling out my kielbasa, I realized I hadn't used that. So I'm going to use Italian sausage. This recipe, like many, I think, is really nice because soup is really forgiving, is one of my themes. It's just flexible. If you don't like something, don't put it in. If you like something a lot, put in more. And I just think that that's one of the beauties of soups. And I wanted to mention that this recipe comes off the Serious Eats blog. And if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. I just follow them on Facebook and they have amazing recipes. I have never made anything I didn't like. And they have a really great pastry chef, Stella Parks, who posts on there. So it's savory and sweet. And they're all major food nerds. So if you want to learn about like there's one guy, J. Kenzie Lopez, he wrote that Food Lab book that you probably saw around in bookstores or at Costco. He'll talk about he'll experiment with 3 different ways and temperatures to do this or to cook pizza and really give you the science, like why is it important to do XYZ step. But he did all that work for you and tested the recipe, and you learn something, and the recipes are all delicious. So I'm going to put in my onions now. My butter and olive oil is hot. It's funny, I didn't realize how many onions 3 medium onions was. It was more onions. I thought that's not enough, but it actually is. The other thing about this recipe is I wasn't really sure what they meant by 1/4-inch slices of potatoes. So I just decided that I would make them bite-sized, but a 1/4 inch thick. So this is the way I did my potatoes, so that they're kind of like a little, can you see? Yeah, there. You know what I mean? Like it's about a 1/4 inch thick, but it's like bite-sized. So that's my interpretation. I'm sure it'll be fine. And I'm sure if you cube them 1/4 inch, it'll be fine too.
So Dominique, are you heating it over high heat or medium? The onions and the garlic?
Heat to get it started, but then I'm going to turn it down to medium. I was starting with a cold cast iron pan, and it takes a while to get up to temperature. But it says don't brown them, so I think medium is the way to go. And I'm going to put in my garlic. 9 medium cloves. So I am a lazy cook. And for stuff that doesn't need fresh garlic, I get the chopped garlic at Costco and then just eyeball it. And I usually eyeball heavy because I really like garlic.
Dominique, we talked about this. I don't know if you were on when Chef Nikita was with us doing the Peruvian.
No, I don't think so.
So she was saying, some people were asking whether using the one from the jar versus actual garlic changes the taste.
Yep.
And I mean, she recommended not using from the jar. Right. But of course, it's so easy to scoop it out. I don't know if you find the different tastes.
There are certain things, like when I make a lamb roast, I use whole garlic cloves. I like the way they kind of caramelize, and I like the bigger chunks of it. For stews and stuff, I don't think it makes enough difference. I wouldn't use it if it's something very lightly cooked and you really want that bite, because I feel like when the garlic's cut, it doesn't have quite as much of that fresh bite. But by the time you cook it, I don't think it matters enough for me to do the extra step when I'm busy. And I'd rather have the easy route so that I actually cook a fresh dinner instead of ordering pizza, because I just can't deal with chopping garlic.
I like your advice.
Yeah. You know, if I wanted to make like a 10, you know, like, well, this is almost 25 years ago, but like I really wanted to impress my husband, you know, on our date, you know, I might have used fresh garlic, but since we're married, it's jarred. But he likes my cooking, so do the kids. So,
you know, this is being recorded, so anything you say can and will be used again.
Don't show it to Mike. Don't want him to think I'm taking him for granted. So yeah, no, I mean, there's certain stuff I'll go to the mat for, and I will spend 6 hours making a cake and do everything from scratch. Or if I was making a salad dressing, I wouldn't use this. I would press some fresh garlic or chop some fresh garlic. But I think for anything cooked, it mellows the flavor anyways. So if you have all the time in the world, do what you want. All right, so we're supposed to cook it about 5 minutes. Sorry?
No, I was going to carry on about something non-soup related. So go ahead. You go ahead, Dominique.
Oh, I think we need a couple more minutes. I'm just going to take our time because I think we have plenty of time. And then after that, we're going to add the potatoes. I'm going to stir the potatoes in the oil before I add it all to the stock. Because I want to get a little bit of that flavor into the potatoes. Go ahead.
So I was going to say that I loved Nikita, but she really is such a stickler for like the right way to do things for herself. But I'll tell you, I signed up and took a cooking class with her the week following when she cooked with us. And I hope I didn't disappoint her, but you know, I cook like Cheryl. I'm like, nah, I don't really have that. Nah, you know what? I'm gonna just try this. And I just do it my own way. And poor Nikita, she's used to all these. She had like 8 people on the call that day, and all of them were like people she knows, and she knows how they cook, and she kept checking in with them, and she wanted to see this and that. And I couldn't like hide enough. I was like, that's okay, I'm good. Nope, I'm fine. It's all good. You know, I didn't want her to like look at me with total disappointment in her face about how I wasn't following what she said to do and when to do it. But it came out delicious. I mean, if she could teach me to cook like a kung pao chicken, I think it was, and kung pao tofu in 1 hour, good for her, right? That's a talent. Yeah. Her class was really fun. The meal was great.
So mine are starting to get a little translucent. So I'm going to add in my potatoes.
So you cook the kielbasa separately, right?
Whoops, sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
Joyce.
Cook the kielbasa, yes. You cook the kielbasa separately from the onions and garlic?
After I put my onions and stuff in, I am going to brown my kielbasa in the pan. Or you could just take another pan if you're putting the stock right in with the onions right now. I just think it adds more flavor.
Okay.
I think the reason that the recipe didn't suggest to cook it first, I went up to a Brazilian store and got the linguiça sausage, and they come pre-cooked. So I didn't actually cook mine. I think it would be delicious to pre-cook it, but I just let it cook in the broth, and
what's
it was
it
delicious.
like? What's the linguiça?
It was very fatty. It was very fatty.
Kind of chorizo-like?
Yeah, but not quite as spicy. It tasted more like kielbasa than chorizo.
Okay.
It's delicious, but I didn't cook it first. And if I had, I think all that fat would have
it would have rendered out. Maybe that's not a good one to cook first, but I'm using Italian sausage and it's raw, so I'm going to brown.
Yeah, no, you have to. Yeah.
Kielbasa's not, but I always brown kielbasa when I use it in stews. It's my favorite sausage. I use it all the time.
Hey, Cheryl, are you still there?
Sorry, I'm multitasking and not cooking.
No, that's okay. I was going to ask if there's a lull, if you want to tell people about Kind casseroles for seniors, because maybe somebody on the call would want to do that next week or this coming week. And so maybe you could talk people through that for a minute. No,
I knew what the status was. Last I knew, we are cooking Kind casseroles, and we have a shepherd's pie recipe that's up on the website. But if that's, but they'll take, they'll be happy to take other casseroles. Just to give a quick background, they found that there had been some senior residents who had been getting food boxes from that were distributed by the food assistance providers. And I think that maybe one woman had passed away, and when they were in her apartment, they saw all of the food from the food boxes in the apartment, but not cooked. And it became clear that she and probably a lot of other people are not really in a condition to be cooking the food that's being delivered. So they really need some prepared foods. And I was actually reading the Montgomery County Food Security Council has a weekly task force report, and it was talking about this very thing, about how the county needs to figure out ways to supply pre-cooked meals to seniors and to other people who aren't able to cook for themselves. So so KindWorks will be jumping in and making Kind casseroles, and we're going to do a soft launch and try making casseroles for the senior center up in Gaithersburg. I don't recall the dates, and Deb, you probably want to jump in and talk about the sizes and portions and everything.
Or Denise, are you free enough? You want to jump in?
Sure. So as far as the dates, we're asking for delivery on April 1st this week. And they'll be delivered to the seniors the next day. And like the soups, we'd like to have them frozen just for better portability. And it turns out that with shepherd's pie and hopefully with other casseroles, we might do, once you get them cooked, you'll say, how am I ever going to divide this up and make it look nice? But if you get the casserole into the fridge overnight, it'll divide up very nicely, and even into something as a little bit flimsy as a Ziploc bag. That'll do the trick just fine.
I got these at Costco for Christmas because I was delivering Christmas. And
that's a great idea.
A little bigger than an individual. It would be nice for a couple, or it's 2 servings.
Yeah.
Kind of carry out containers, and they weren't expensive.
That's good to know they have them there. It would protect them a little better too.
Yeah.
So yeah, just cook on the before the 1st, deliver on the 1st. The details are on the website, and we'll see if we can we're hoping to get enough for 60 people, which is just 4 servings for each volunteer we're asking for. And as Cheryl said, it doesn't have to be the shepherd's pie. If you're vegetarian and you want to cook, I know some people like lentil pie instead of shepherd's pie, or really even in any other casserole that that your family likes and that you know how to make and then you're comfortable with, and you know how it'll divide and what kind of yield you'll get. Just go for it. They will be very appreciative.
Do we know what you consider a serving?
No, it's really going to depend, I wouldn't want to give like number of ounces because everything's different. So whatever you would consider I would say be generous, please, and if we'd rather have, somebody have a little bit left over for the next day, but no, just whatever you deem, whatever you would eat for dinner, that would be fine. Especially since, the senior citizens, if it's something that you would give your teenage son, there's going to be plenty for little old lady.
And the way we do KindSoups, the same idea, cook some for yourselves and cook some to donate.
Right. Because most people will cook a recipe that's going to do more than.
What about funneling some of our soups over to the seniors? Seniors like soup.
Yeah, we have been doing that. Actually, this is the same organization receiving them that is going to be that they've been getting our soups as well. Yeah.
This is through Gaithersburg Cares, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I've thrown my onions and potatoes into my broth, and I am cooking my sausage, and I'm just going to put some pepper in my broth. I'm going to wait till the sausage is in there before I add salt, because some sausages, I know kielbasa releases a lot of salt. And a lot of other sausages do too. So
I learned on Martin Luther King Day when I put the ham hocks in, and it became too salty.
Which is funny because mine wasn't terribly salty. You know what I mean? And it really made a difference what you used.
So I'm going to go down and check the brisket and the chicken soup and all the things that are cooking downstairs. So you may not see me for a little bit.
So for the casseroles, if we do like a meat over rice kind of casserole, like anything like that, stew, because I'd be always happy just to package up what I'm making, label it with any allergens. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Originally, we thought we would try to coordinate it more like we do with the soups, but there's no reason to. And, enough people like what they like, but don't really want to go out on a limb on a big casserole dish, whereas soup seems kind of quicker and easier. So yeah, anything that anybody wants to make and labels up and delivers frozen is fantastic. And if you could sign up.
I'm really happy to do the recipe sometimes, but I'm cooking big batches all the time.
Yeah.
And how hard is it to throw a couple servings in the freezer and then deliver a bunch?
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. You know, I'm wondering, and we have a small crowd today, but I'm still wondering if I can get a little bit of feedback on a couple things. And one of them is I wanted to try this poll function and ask you guys which soups you have really liked and you'd be excited to see come back for another cooking. You'd be excited to cook again. So let me see if I can put this.
Thai soup. I've made it twice.
Hold on. I'm going to see if I can get this poll function thing to work and collect the results of our.
Oh, we're actually going to see a poll.
We're going to try to do a poll. Let's see if this thing works. I don't know if I know how to do it or I don't. Created one poll for this meeting. Okay. Well, you guys are stirring. Oh, Laura Lee's ready. Joyce is ready. Let's see. How do I
Is my frying sausage too loud? Is it?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, it's perfect. So do you guys see over? Oh, launch poll. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, if you have a minute and you wanna, which did you say was your favorite, Dominique? I don't know if I put it on there.
The Thai chicken. Sorry, the Thai one.
Yeah, carrot. That was supposed to be on there, is it?
I
No.
don't see it.
All right, but that one I'm going to remember as one of the ones. And if you guys want to just tell me that you love the Thai carrot and sweet potato, I hear you.
Okay, yes.
Who said that? Joyce?
Joyce.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Right, and I'm signing up for that autumn wild rice soup was fantastic. Chicken
Okay.
tortilla was great. I wasn't here for Aracosia. I wasn't here for lentil soup, but I understand it was delicious.
No, just go for the ones that if you saw that we were cooking it again, you'd say, that was great.
Yep.
I'm happy to make that again.
Yep.
Instead of, I don't need to sign on because they're making that one again. That's what I'm looking for. Because, you know, we've made a lot of really good ones. Kind of fun to see the poll, kind of.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for playing along. And you went ahead and saw the second question too. Next week, do you want to cook together or do you want to just take a break and not Zoom? And it looks like people want to cook together. So we will pick a soup and we'll cook together next Saturday. Excellent.
I had turned off my broth, so I'm like, gosh, that's really not cooking with the potatoes. So I just got it back on.
Deb, just so you know, my vote in support of next Saturday off, I'll be there if we do it. If anybody else wants a break, I'm cool with that too, but I didn't see a spot for either way. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, what's the story on Easter? Easter's on Sunday. So will people be kind of like getting prepped for Easter Sunday, or is that not a big deal?
Yeah, they could be. It depends. Like for us, it's just a small family dinner again, but yeah, people could be getting together. So that's a good point. I hadn't even put that together.
We're
in my
meeting
mind.
today. Yeah.
I'm getting my second vaccine Saturday, so I said, yes, let's cook together. But now I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to put my kale in, but I went the lazy way and got the triple washed chopped kale. So. How's everybody doing? Any questions?
Dominique, does it take you a while to go through the kale? Do you go through and get all those middle ribs out? I don't use kale that much.
I don't usually put the ribs in. I put a little bit of the rib in, but not the really thick part. So I just kind of rip the leaf off, wash it. And I'm, the thinner part of the rib, yes. And then I just cut it crosswise. It's gonna shrink down, but kale holds a little bit more than other greens. So try to make it manageable.
So there's a question about using spinach instead of kale. And I would say, yes, that will work, but I wouldn't put it in as early as you're putting the kale in.
Almost at the end.
Yeah, it's really going to take 5 minutes to cook, whereas the kale, especially if you're using some of those ribs, you want in for much longer.
Hey. Hi, I'm on my cooking thing. Yeah, I'm worried that I don't have enough liquid when I put in all the kale, but I suspect it'll shrink down. But if not, I'll just add more liquid, more chicken broth.
Deb, I have a question.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so Sunday, I would like to try the Presbyterian delivery again. Do I drive down that long driveway into the rear?
I can't answer you because Joyce, I'm in New York City. I'm only pretending to be in Bethesda this week. So I can't answer you because I haven't been there. But I will tell you that she tells me that they will have signage and some obvious coolers or thermoses or something. So I don't know what to tell you other than it should be a lot easier this week than it was last week.
Okay.
What was the difficulty last week?
Okay, thanks.
Well, they've switched from the home to the
I couldn't
church.
locate it.
Yeah, and they couldn't it wasn't clearly marked at all that they were collecting soups anywhere. And so a couple of people, didn't want to leave soup to go bad somewhere where it wasn't obviously going to be used, and they had to schlep it back home. But they know about this. They knew about it last Sunday, and they heard about it again during the week, and they're going to put signage out, and they're going to make it more obvious. I don't know.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that, Joyce. Hope it's easier tomorrow. Will you, Joyce, after you drop off, will you shoot me a text?
Okay.
Deb, did you say that you had tried the place on Sligo Avenue, 510 Sligo? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I did go there maybe a month ago, early on when we added them, and they couldn't have been nicer. I went around the back. There were some guys working on crates of food, and they said, "Oh, you have soup? Okay," they go right there. And, I parked right outside where that fencing was in the back, and they were very helpful.
Yeah, I've been taking it there for several weeks, and the people I give it to always seem a little bemused. So I'm just not quite sure.
You know what? I'll check in with the guy that runs the place again this week now that you're telling me that. I assumed it was all going well, but I'll check in with him and I'll let you know if there's anything we need to know.
It might be fine.
Okay.
I'm running behind because of my mishap with the broth, having turned it off. So I'm just browning away and waiting for my stuff to come up to boil so I can put in the kale. Deb, how long did you let your kale cook for? Like most of the time that the potatoes were cooking, or did you do it more at the end?
Closer to the end, but I'll tell you, I put a lot of kale in, maybe the amount that they told me to, I don't know. And then I thought, you know what? I love kale. I'm going to put more in. So then I had to cook it for twice as long. But so what? I kept tasting it and cooking it and tasting it. It was all delicious. So I have a lot of kale in mine. And it's just such a flavorful way to get so much good stuff in you,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I confess I also did not use both types of potatoes. I just went, I'm using the potatoes I have. And I know that they use two different kinds. So one would dissolve and thicken the soup. So feel free, if you did like me and used only one kind of potatoes, to mash some of them if you want to thicken it, or just leave it brothy, because I think it's going to taste really good either way. I never follow directions to the T. I just do what I want.
We have a subversive group here.
I know, right?
Too fun. So we will probably make one of the recipes next week that we've already made, unless anybody on this call, Laura Lee, would like to propose to lead in, you know, a not threatening way, a new soup recipe. Anybody on this call feel like they might want to do that next week?
I know you were trying to encourage me to make a Jewish chicken soup. I was making one yesterday and trying to figure out if it works for KindSouping. You know, I use a whole chicken and it doesn't really yield that much broth the way you do it to make enough for, I don't know. So, and you really need to do 2 pots probably, I think. I don't know. So we can talk offline unless somebody wants to jump in.
I'm hoping Laura Lee's about to.
I don't have any, I'm just thinking through difference. I mean, a lot of the soup recipes I make are from moosewood or something like that, but you have to think about whether they freeze well and whether they multiply well, and I haven't really thought about that. I also have a couple of Hungarian soups in my cookbook.
Hungarian soups.
We have oh, sorry, hold on, the sausage.
Okay, go.
Until Laura Lee gets back, what you know, people want to make like a matzo ball with the chicken soup. It's like you get, you know, I just buy, you know, this and you follow the directions, but there are all these different steps, and you keep it in the refrigerator for 20 minutes, and then you do this. It's a lot of pots going.
Yeah,
I'm dying to learn how to make that personally, but I don't know if I'm going to be well.
It'd be interesting to coordinate with a bunch of the other people who make their chicken soup and sort of figure out how I do it versus other people, and come up with the best.
Good idea. The kind matzo ball soup.
These recipes don't say whether they freeze well or not, and I don't know. So there's like asparagus soup, green bean soup, cauliflower soup. They're just basic green.
like Laura Lee, the asparagus one. What's in that other than asparagus and broth? And
Okay, hold on. I just lost it again here. Yeah, it is pretty much asparagus and broth and milk and parsley and dumplings.
oh, yum! But probably expensive, right? A ton of asparagus and milk.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, a little bit of, not a whole lot of milk, just a half a cup of milk per 4 cups of stock and a pound of. So that makes 4 cups. So yeah, we usually are making more like 12 cups, aren't we? So that would be tripling. That's 3 pounds of asparagus. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I'd have to look. Let me, I'll start looking though. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
My broth is delicious. I have not put my sausage in, and just using the Better Than bouillon, it's plenty salty, and I haven't even put in the sausage. So if you haven't added any salt, I would definitely wait to taste after your sausage is in. And I'm going to add mine.
So to make matzo ball soup, you take the matzo ball stuff,
Oh,
scramble up 2 eggs, add a little oil, add the mix, and you're basically done.
wow. And then do you just kind of put that in your favorite chicken soup recipe?
The one that I bought this time, it gives you another soup package to make a broth and you cook it in the broth.
Nice.
I typically just, if this was the only one they had on the shelf, I usually just make it in water and then add it separately to the soup. And I don't like to cook it in the soup, but
Yeah.
I don't know. How do other people do it? Deb?
I'm sorry, I was looking at something else. What was the question?
How do you make your matzo ball soup? Like, do you put your matzos in to cook in the soup or not?
Yes, I put it to cook in the soup, although there was some reason why I cooked them separately once. I think I was having a ton of people over and I wanted to puff them up in boiling water and then move them over to the soup because I thought it was too many to throw in my soup at one time.
Also, when I cook it in, you know, I'm sort of a purist. My chickens do taste and look a certain way, and if I add the matzo balls into it, it changes the flavor of the soup itself if it all cooks together. So that's why.
Not in a good way? You don't like how it changes it?
No.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
So we have like a conveyor belt of noodles, matzo ball, and then who likes more carrots, who likes less, because that's the kind of mom I am.
That's so nice.
It in and says, you like it, you eat it.
My potatoes are soft and my broth is delicious. So I'm just letting the sausage cook down, but I'm pretty much done.
What a fast soup, right?
It is fast. And it
And
looks,
so much flavor.
I love the flavor. I didn't have what you had, Widger. Your broth turned a funny color. What do you think did that?
It always happens to me. I have to wash my hands more or something. I don't know what it is.
That's funny.
But it allowed me to like do the tofu,
Right.
silky tofu ad, which was nice.
You know, in terms of choosing what soups we want, it would be great to get some feedback from some of the places where we bring the soups. I don't know if they've heard from any of the people that have actually been, given our soups, but sometimes I'm concerned if we're doing something, that I don't know, has weird ingredients or things that they receive and go, ooh, I don't want that, versus something that they'd be like, oh yeah, I'm really glad to have this.
Yeah,
But
I ask all the time. I ask whenever I talk to any of them about something else. I said, oh, any feedback on any of the soups? Oh, they're so grateful. Everybody's so happy.
Well, I think I usually bring a small container to Christina up at Black Rock, and she tastes every one of my soups.
Oh, good.
So, and I think sometimes other people up at the hub get a taste of it, depending on how hungry people are as she's heating it up. But yeah, I mean, because there's different communities, like they serve most of the people in the area there are Hispanic, and some of our Hispanic friends might be able to tell us if this sounds good to them or not. But then in other parts of the county, there is more of an African base of people who are, and they like different things. Because again, on this food security task force call, we had broken into some separate, rooms, and there was a discussion about one of our volunteers, Cheryl Silver, keeps getting this ton of turnips, and she needed to figure out what to do with the turnips. And it turned out that there was someone from Afra Thrive in our room, and she was excited about the turnips, and somebody from the Sikh Indian community was very excited about the turnips, but not everybody was.
Right. So I just put a little bit of salt and I'm done.
Cool. How's everybody else doing?
It took me a while for the broth to come to a boil, so the kale just went in about 5 minutes ago.
All right.
Yeah, I've got some more time to let it cook, the kale and the potatoes.
That's a lot of ingredients for one. Is everybody doing this in one soup pot? Because mine is pretty full.
I'm doing
Yeah,
it
but I've got a
in my
giganto
giant
pot.
soup pot. I've got a really big one. You can see mine's like it's the one I pull out for parties and stuff like that. When we used to do such a thing. Soon again, we can gather. Although I have to say, I'm feeling a little phobic. Like they're like, you can gather with other vaccinated people indoors. And I'm like, really? Like, makes me nervous. I'm like, I'd love to have dinner once I'm fully vaccinated with people outdoors, but I think
outdoors, right?
My way back into indoor gathering.
Yeah, I too. I'm with you. I don't see any good reason in the world why people shouldn't just keep walking around with masks on.
Absolutely. It was funny. I noticed this at the beginning of the pandemic, how quickly my mindset shifted. So like we were watching The Shining, like our 16-year-old had never seen it. And at the beginning, he walks in to interview and he walks over and shakes hands with someone. And I was having these reactions like, oh no, don't do that. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a point where I flip back the way I quickly adjusted to that in an unconscious way, but I'm not so sure.
I'll be there with you.
What's funny, Dominique, is the movie The Shining, you know, you're on the edge of your seat of like these like terrible things that are about to happen. And the one that sets you off
is a handshake.
I think there's no reason why large groups of people like church or conferences or something should ever go around again and like shake hands all day. It's just does not make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a number of years ago at church after, I think it was during swine flu, people went to doing kind of the Buddhist greeting, you know, like I honor beside you. And
that's a good one.
I don't feel like when I meet new clients, I'm going to be shaking hands. Like,
so now we can do the COVID in me honors the COVID in you.
I had another experience. Actually, it's funny that Easter is coming up because it was last Easter. I was watching church on Zoom and then I wanted to listen to the Alleluia chorus. So I looked it up online and it was like one of those mega choirs doing it, but not during COVID. Like it was just a video on YouTube and there was like 1,000 people all next to each other. And I'm like, no, this is not relaxing. And then I went, I bet somebody Zoomed it and someone like in another country had done a Zoom Alleluia chorus and that was so much more comfortable to watch.
I'm a choral director and it's been a tough year. Columbia, Maryland.
Oh, nice.
It's where the chorus is. Yeah. It's so we're just all muted right now. And it's hard to know when it's going to be safe, isn't it?
Right.
Do you Zoom?
We Zoom, yeah. We have rehearsals on Zoom, and we're going to try that virtual choir thing where everybody just records their part alone and somebody mixes it. But there's no substitute for being able to be in the same space as others.
Right.
But you know, I was so charmed, I guess, or something, thrilled when the pandemic, like a month or two after the pandemic pushed everybody into their own spaces, the incredibly creative and almost, maybe only because it was new, but it was to me so effective to pull different people together, to come together to create a visual and an oral presentation. I don't know. I thought it really shocked me how valuable it was, the things that people were putting out for musical consumption. I don't know.
The cathedral did something like that last Easter also. They had like 2 singers and 2 officiants in an empty cathedral, but the music director had done that. And they had done something where for one piece, suddenly all the Zoom windows started opening on like, and I was like, I literally started crying.
I mean, but that's the kind of thing we would never have seen, experienced, or whatever. And you're grateful you did, right?
And I think when we can gather together, we're going to be full of gratitude when we can get over our squeamishness.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to eat dinner. My house smells so good. My kids were coming in one-on-one, going, that smells so good.
Even Denise's family will be happy. We don't usually cook with meat, but we did today. Her family, her men are going to be very happy.
Mhm.
That's true. That's true. Kielbasa, you can't go wrong.
That's good.
I think everybody on the call here knows about labeling and contact tracing, filling out the form, right? No
These
question.
are our regulars. They're in good shape. I'll tell you what, you guys get an early warning about something very interesting. I don't know if any of you have any extra time, but the county is requesting volunteers to staff certain food distributions and other sites where people congregate in areas where there have not been adequate vaccinations yet. And they're looking for us, if we're interested, to go through a tiny bit of a training and to become county ambassadors for the vaccination programs. And you're going to
Really?
sign people up, give them information. They'll teach you what they want. But if you want to go on our website, I just posted on the very top part of our website this new opportunity. And I mean, what a great way to give back. And they certainly will do their utmost to maintain your safety while you're volunteering. You're not, you're working like a food distribution site or something, but you're going to be doing the paperwork to interact with people about whether or not they've gotten vaccinated and how they can make that happen. So it's a great opportunity, and you can learn more on our website and then link over to the county's sign up.
Yeah, I think they need to find natural community people. I accidentally got connected with someone. So my aunt's DC appointment, she's in her 80s, was canceled like 6 weeks ago, but a friend of mine had a friend in her apartment that was helping DC people get appointments. So I got in touch, and she was going to help my aunt. And then she said, but I've got this lady in PG County, who needs her brother to have an appointment. And can I give you her? And I said, of course, because I was helping people get vaccines. She has been amazing. She has connected me with so many people that I've gotten appointments for. Now she's sending me all the alerts she gets of, churches that are having vaccine programs and things like that. So it's like they really need to find the natural connectors in the community that are, because she's single-handedly gotten dozens of people connected with vaccines. And then whenever she hears this Safeway in DC is taking people even out of turn just to use their, out of
the line, eligibility,
the phase.
Yeah.
So they really need to find those people.
Yeah. Well, this is less intense than what you do and have done. This would just be, doing what you're told at a food distribution site or something, much less intense, but really important.
Yeah. Well, I'd be interested. So are you going to send something out, or should we just go to the web page?
I am trying to get a newsletter out, and it will be in that, but your best bet is to go to the website.
I might wait till I'm fully, my vaccine's fully effective, but I would be interested, and I'd be interested to talk to them about maybe how they can find those natural connectors.
Perfect. Yeah.
Dominique, you may know the answer to
Wait, Alexa Hente is tasting it. Let's see what she says.
You're muted, Denise.
That's because she's trying to eat something. She didn't know I was going to out her while she was tasting.
It's delicious. Even the kielbasa. No, I like it. It's really good. And I didn't add any salt. I used the better than bouillon as well. So between that and the kielbasa, it's good. But yeah, it's nice texture too. Like the kale's there, but it's cooked, but it's not too wilty. So I like it.
Excellent. Everybody's good?
Yep. Cheryl, what was your question?
So apparently Walgreens has scheduled people for 4 weeks between the 1st and the 2nd. And they're getting Pfizer and are eligible after 3 weeks. So do they have to wait to go back to Walgreens, or could they sort of search for their second shot somewhere else to get it sooner?
That's interesting because everyone I've known at Walgreens has been 4 weeks apart and got Moderna. You know, people who are getting Pfizer.
Yeah, originally I understand their website said, we're doing Moderna, but apparently Pfizer came and a number of people I know got the 4 weeks separation and all got Pfizer.
I would ask Walgreens. The thing about going elsewhere, which you can try, like some places say you need to schedule dose 2, but you don't always know what they're giving. And
right.
It's not going to hurt you to wait 4 weeks with Pfizer. Do you know what I mean? Like 3 weeks.
A couple of people have had this situation and have raised the question to me, and
I would stick with Walgreens because they do kind of time their doses to a person. So I think it's better for Walgreens if you don't do that. And I think it is actually tricky to be hunting down a specific vaccine elsewhere. But if you did it at Walgreens, you'll get the same one.
Right.
They're tracking you. I wouldn't risk it. And I don't think a week matters with Pfizer.
I agree.
Good answer. Thank you.
But I think it'll throw them off if people start dropping their second dose.
Well, everyone's tracking how many people are coming back for second doses or not coming back, not necessarily Walgreens, but the county and the state.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, I will pass along that message.
Okay. Well, I think we're just about out of time, and I hope everybody really enjoys it. It was really nice to see everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, ladies. This was really good.
Happy
So I have a
Passover
question.
coming up.
Quick question, Dominique. We're supposed to put the chives then on once we pour the soup into the containers, then you're suggesting garnish the top with chives?
You know, the recipe does, but I think that's really more for when you're eating it at home. I would either stir it in enough so they could cook, or I would just leave them off. I don't think it needs it.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Good night, everybody. Thanks.
Bye, everybody. Have a good week.